Welcome to Season 5 of She Ventures. I am your host, Doria Lavanino. She Ventures is a podcast about women and their work and life pivots. I believe in the power of storytelling. I also believe that if you change one woman's life, you start to change a family or a community. Our mission is to elevate the diverse stories of everyday women in their work. One promise, no mansplaining ever. Sit back, listen, and hit subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us at sheventurespodcast.com. This ex-ballerina was born in Moscow and lived and worked in Russia, France, and Cyprus, and in the US, primarily in corporate sales and marketing. She always loved fashion and found a way to pivot to entrepreneurship by starting an online handmade lingerie business called Angie's Showroom, where she is CEO and founder. Here to speak to us today is Angelina Mahany. Angelina, welcome to She Ventures.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Doria. And I hope it's going to be a very interesting podcast today.
I am sure that it will be. And Angelina is being very diplomatic because she is not telling you two things. One, that we had struggled to connect for 15 minutes, which happens in podcast life. And also that she is the mother of a 6-month-old baby. And so those of us who've had kids is probably not getting a lot of sleep between motherhood and work. Is that the case?
Yes, I have actually 2 girls. And
oh my goodness.
One, she's almost 6 years old, and I have a newborn baby. She's almost 6 months old. Because I have to, deal with kids, and also I have several projects. So it's a lot of work right now, but I'm trying to do my best.
Do you have someone that helps you with your kids or with work?
Unfortunately not, because my parents, they're still in Russia. They live in Moscow. And my husband's parents, last year, his mom died just before Thanksgiving. So we didn't really have a great year. And his dad, he lives in North Carolina right now. We don't really have anyone here in Florida, and it's kind of tough, but it's what we have to do.
I understand. We run into these situations in life. So your husband is in North Carolina now?
No, we live in Florida. I'm just saying his dad is there.
His dad, okay.
Yes.
I was like, wow.
Most of the families, and he recently moved just before his mom passed, and they moved to North Carolina. They were in Ohio before. So anyway, they were far. Right now, pretty much all his family is there in North Carolina.
So you guys are really starting new in a new state where you don't really have any connections.
I mean, actually, here we're closer to family because we used to live in Austin, Texas, and it was, much farther away from everyone, and even from my parents. I mean, to fly from Russia to Austin, it was kind of difficult. I mean, we've been here for 2.5 years now, so it's not as bad. And he actually studied here in Daytona before. He used to go to college here. So he knows some people, but it's not that we have time to communicate.
Right, to socialize. Yeah. You're both very busy. I am so sure. And the last thing I'll say before we move on about going from one child to 2, I also have 2 daughters. Much older. So my new saying is little girls, little problems, big girls, big problems. And I love them dearly, but my goodness, what I remember about going from 1 to 2 was that was much harder than going from 0 to 1, because when you're going from 0 to 1, you only have one you have to think about. But when you have another one, although I guess yours is 6, she's a little bit more self-sufficient. Mine was 3. It was hard. I don't know if you found it that way.
That's true. I was very scared. I couldn't decide for years. Like, I wanted a second child, but I was so afraid because I still remembered the beginning and and the labor and, the first months and everything. And, it was 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago. I was younger. I had less work, to be honest. Like, I had only one project. I didn't even have Angie's showroom at this time. So I had one project. I was younger. I didn't have another baby.
Right.
And I mean, right now, yes, I have more work. I've never had any vacation, to be honest. Like, I was working every single day, and it was difficult. And plus, like last time, my parents could visit for a couple of weeks at least. And this time, due to the whole situation that happened in 2022, unfortunately, it's very difficult for them to come. This time, nobody even can help us, even a little bit, like for a couple of weeks. And I agree, it's harder, but you mentioned that, yeah, the age difference, it's quite
different.
Big. Yeah. Sophia, my oldest, she's great. Like, she supports us, and she loves Olivia, and she kisses her, and she tries to help. And there is no jealousy between the girls, which I'm very, very much happy about because I was kind of scared. Everything is great.
You know what I think? And then I promise we really will get to your story. I didn't mean to get into children, but I really think the way you did it, yes, you're older, but I wish I had done it like you and had 5 years difference between children, because I feel like 5 years is almost like you're an only child you are an only child for those 5 years. And they're very developmental years. I only waited 2 years, 10 months between mine. There was not enough of an age gap that there was a really intense rivalry for many years. It's gotten much better now that my girls are teenagers and are both in high school, but I totally understand what you're saying.
I am a little bit worried because of their age gap, just because it's going to be 5.5 years between them. No, 5 years between them. And I'm just a little bit afraid that they're not going to be as close as they could be, like in your case. I mean, my mom, she has a sister. Their age difference is 7 years. I mean, right now they're fine because they're both adults and everything. But like, it used to be 7 years difference. So it's just, they didn't really connect as children, as teenagers. So they started to communicate probably after 20. Yeah. So that's kind of my concern. But again, I wasn't ready, and I'm happy that I did it that way. And it's easier with Sophia, especially that we don't really have help. It is what it is.
It is what it is at the end of the day, right? So let's transition to you. You not only had a career pivot, but you have a very interesting life. You have worked and lived in 4 different economies and cultures. And I just wanted to start out because all Americans are fascinated by Russia. What was it like growing up in Russia?
I'm from Moscow, so that's the capital of Russia. And obviously, it's very different from the rest of Russia, I probably would say. I mean, we live in the center, so also like kind of in a very nice area. I didn't really have any issues. Like, I loved my childhood. I had great school. As you mentioned, I was studying ballet. So at the age of, I started dancing when I was 5. At the age of 9, my parents, they put me into like a professional school for ballet.
That's young.
Yeah, and since 9, I was at this school till like 18. My path was that I was planning to become professional ballerina. I wanted to dance in the theaters and everything. That was the plan. But Moscow in general, yeah, it's a great city. It's beautiful. It changed a lot since my childhood. Obviously, they built more modern buildings and they decorated the whole city differently. Like, they changed a lot of things. And every year it's slightly different, which I really like. Unfortunately, I haven't been there since lockdown. So that's another issue. I was planning to go last March when I was still pregnant, but I still could fly. I had tickets with Sophia. We were supposed to go in March. But unfortunately, all the flights got canceled, so it didn't happen. For 3 years, I haven't been there. Yeah.
I do want to talk about, you were a professional ballerina, but I'm very curious about today, what your parents are hearing in comparison to what you're hearing about the war between Russia and Ukraine.
That's a difficult topic. We are trying not really touch this when I speak to my parents or my friends. I mean, my friends probably closer to my opinion. My parents are slightly different. They have different opinion about that. And so I'm just trying not to talk about it with them as much as possible, just because I don't want to have any arguments with my family, because, war, religion, politics, it's very sensitive topics.
They're very loaded.
Everyone has its own opinion. But I do believe, and again, it's my opinion, I do believe that there is a lot of propaganda in Russia. And my parents in general, they watch a lot of news. We do have different opinions what's going on and happening. I don't believe that it's good or it's bad. I think there is something in between that we probably, and no one knows. It's probably like somewhere there between the politicians and big people. Yeah, I do believe there is something that Putin probably had in mind when he did what he did. But still, it's a war, and it's still people dying, countries destroyed, so I do not support that. Yeah, that's clear. I do not support that. My friends do not support that. I feel sorry, and especially because I guess we will move forward to my business later on, and because I do work with Ukraine a lot, for me, it was a huge struggle last year, and it still continues. And I did work with Russia too. So for me, both countries were kind of my partners in production. And
That's hard. You went from becoming a ballerina, and you were doing that until you were 18. And then I know that you have a degree in economics in Moscow. So how did that transition happen?
I really loved dancing. I mean, it was an amazing experience for me as a child, because we had very interesting subjects at school that nobody really studies unless you are in college and you specifically study art and music and stuff, because we did have it inside of our school. We had different music classes, we had like history of painting, history of theaters, history of makeup, and specifically for dancers and artists. And it was like a lot of subjects that I'm glad I had, because it kind of grew my mind a lot, and it was very, very nice school. But I was good, but I was not like the best dancer, I guess. And that was my parents. They were concerned about that, because they were like, okay, what's going to be your future? Like, are you sure you want to go to theater? And are you sure you want to like be in the fifth row and like waving with a rose or something? It's what they used to say. And I'm like, I don't know, but it used to be my whole childhood. Like, I was dancing my whole life, basically.
It's a short career too, right?
Yes, yeah. They go on retirement pretty early. Right now, there are different options for ballerinas, but still, it's a short career. And so my parents were like pushing me that I have to get a normal degree. Normal for them were like something about economics and management and all of that. It was a difficult decision, but right now, like at this age, I don't understand that probably it was the best, because I wouldn't have what I have now. I wouldn't probably meet my husband or have two beautiful kids. I'm glad that it happened that way. That's how it happened. My parents kind of pushed me. And after graduation, I was before graduation, I was applying to university, and I went to corporate management because I thought I was like between marketing and management. And I was like, okay, in the management, they study more, like it was more broad. They had HR inside, finance, logistics, marketing. And because it was after ballet, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, okay, I want to study everything to see the whole picture. And then maybe I decide what I want to do. I chose corporate management. It was management. And then I chose last year, it was more like specific path. It was corporate management. After that, I decided to go more into marketing, and I got my master's in marketing.
Out of curiosity, in Russia, you know how there's a huge student loan debt crisis issue in this country. In Russia, is it free, your education?
Yes, I'm so scared about my girls. We're trying to build we're trying to leave some money right now for them. But that's insane how expensive things here.
And your education was very high quality, right? It's very high quality education.
Yeah, like a lot of people from different countries, especially Africa, I guess, because for them it's maybe cheaper to go to Russia. But a lot of people from Africa go to study medicine. I guess just because we do have quite good education and it's cheaper for them to go to Russia. So Indian people also, a lot of Indians could come to Russia, again, to study medicine. I guess it's because of the price, to be honest, because medicine, it's a lot of years. You have to, study and learn, and it's a very difficult profession. Regarding the price, we have several options. Yeah, if you have good grades and you kind of passed all the exams. Right now, the system slightly changed, but when I was graduating, I had to pass the exams, specifically inside of universities. So it's not like here. Here you just apply to different colleges and you get the letter back. We now have it kind of similar, but when I was graduating, we had to go to each college, university, whatever, and you had to sit there and write an exam for every single place. So it was very complicated compared to, US system. But if you had good grades and if you passed all these exams and you have certain number of score, I guess, if you have like high score, they put you into free classes and free education. But if like a little bit you are under certain score, you probably have an option to pay and to study there, but you have to pay. But again, it's a different amount of money compared to United States. It's cheaper. Unfortunately, right now, I have no idea about the cost because it's been a while. Still, it's cheaper. It's probably for the whole 5 years because we used to have 5 years instead of 4. Even for 5 years, it's probably like, I don't know, maybe $10,000. Right now, probably it's more expensive. No, I'm pretty sure it's more.
Even if it were 30, I mean, that's...
No, for 5 years, yeah, it's probably cheap. Yeah.
Very inexpensive, right? Because in the US, it's... Oh my goodness, like at a private college, 1 year is $80,000. It's mind-boggling. So we're going to just forget about that for the moment. I'm glad that you're saving for your children's education. I did too. Everyone should, because it comes fast and it's expensive. So you immigrated to the United States. Was that due to you meeting your husband, or how did that all work out?
Correct. So, about countries. So from Moscow, I moved to France because I decided to continue my education. As I said, I decided to go into marketing. I wanted to study abroad to get this different type of education. And I got into business school in France, near Paris. It's like 1 hour away. It's called Rouen. And it's a city where Jeanne d'Arc was, burned and stuff. So that's famous for Jeanne, for
Jeanne
her.
d'Arc.
And it's a very beautiful, tiny city. But it was next to Paris, so for us it was okay. We were studying all week and then go to Paris for the weekend. It was great. I know French, but my French was worse than my English. So, and again, French, I used to study it at school just because ballet is in French words. So we had French classes instead of English classes. So for me, it was actually complicated to move from French to English, but then it was opposite. After France, I was trying to find a job there. I got internship in Paris for half a year, but unfortunately, because I'm not a European Union citizen, it was difficult for me to get a working visa after my internship, and they offered me a job actually for Sochi Olympic Games and as a marketing assistant, because I was working for a French company. It's called Atos, but it's a French IT services company, and they're main partners for Olympic Games. And because it was Sochi, the next Olympic Games was in Sochi, and they needed someone who spoke Russian. They offered me this job, and that's why I returned back to Moscow, and I was like, okay, I'm going to Sochi, I guess. And for 1 year or 2 years, I don't remember. But they didn't confirm the budget. And after that, I started to look for a job. And for like 6 months, I was working in another French company, but in Moscow. Then I got an offer. I was continue looking for a job, and I got an offer for a startup company in Cyprus. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to totally do it. I was worried about Cyprus because it's a touristic place. It's an island. It's a big island. To be honest, it's a big island, but it's still an island. It was a different experience. And just before I got an offer, I remember it was January 7th because it was Orthodox Christmas when I got an offer. Just a couple of weeks prior to that, I met my husband in person. We actually met
Russia.
Online. No.
Oh, okay.
We met online, and we were communicating for half a year or so. And then I wanted to go to visit my friends in New York. I applied for a visa. I got a visa. After Europe, I haven't been to United States for a while because we used to come with my mom often. She had a friend here. And I was like, oh, I want to go to United States. Like, I've been missing it. And after Europe,
I want to check
it's
out
been a
this
while.
guy too.
Yeah. But I mean, he was in Alabama state. I wasn't like planning to go there, but I told him that I'm going to go to New York. I have friends. I had my ex-colleague from France. She was in New York because they offered her a job for a couple of years there. So she was there from Atos. I had my classmates from France who got like internships in New York. So I was like, okay, I'm going. And if you want to come, you are welcome. And he was like, yeah, of course I want to see you. And he drove like for 2 days straight, I think, because he was with his parents. It was Christmas time. And then he studied in Alabama. He had to go to Ohio. From Ohio, he had to drive to New York and then back to Alabama. I was surprised because I was like, oh my God, that's like a very long trip. Especially for 2 days, like he could stay only for 2 days, and he had to go back. And he came just before New Year's. We met New Year's together. I flew back to Russia, and I got an offer. And I was like, oh, I have to move to Cyprus. And he had to move to Texas because he graduated. He got a job in Texas. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? I wasn't planning it to be serious, but it got serious, and we tried to travel. We spoke every day. We tried to travel to each other. We traveled to Russia. I traveled to Ohio. I traveled to Austin. He traveled to Cyprus. And we had a lot of loans because of the traveling cost. Yeah, it's been expensive. Like it was too far. Cyprus, like 2 or 3 layovers. We had not layovers. We had to have connection flights, and it was like 2 or 3. It's been crazy, but after, I guess, 2 years, he finally proposed. We were in Moscow, and he finally proposed, and then we started to plan my visa and planning, like, to move to Austin.
Were you excited to move to the United States? What was your feeling about it? Mixed?
I don't know. Like, It's a long story. I don't want to
That's
take your time, but it's just, I was excited. I was scared because I didn't know what I'm going to do. I was a marketing manager in this Cyprus firm. She actually offered me a job, still keep my job for a while, just to have some money, which I'm so grateful that she did that. And she was like, you can work on distance, remotely for a while. And so she paid me some money, and it was good because we were young, and my husband is the same age as me. And as a truly American person, he had a lot of loans, and I didn't know about that. So for us, it was like the first years being in marriage, it was tough. I was scared that I didn't know what I'm gonna do. It was Austin. Austin is great, but I mean, it was a different state for me. And again, I haven't been living for a long time in the US. I was like living for 3 months in Washington, D.C., like 3 months in Philadelphia. I used to visit some places, but I mean, Texas, no, I just came for a couple of weeks to see him, and that was it. So I was excited, but when I flew from... I had a ticket from Cyprus to Moscow. I slept at home with my parents. They drove me back the next day to fly to New York, and then I was supposed to connect to Austin. But unfortunately, in New York, the employees of the airport were not really educated about the visa that I had, because I had a fiance visa at this time. So I had to enter as a fiance on the fiance visa. Long story short, they just deported me back.
Oh my God.
So I'm telling this story not because it's nice to know,
no,
but
people should
it's
know.
It's just because you asked, were I excited to come? Yes, but after the deportation and how much money we spent on lawyers and everything, and our wedding was planned in April, and a lot of things, I mean, happened. I hated the United States when this happened to me. My husband, he flew for 1 day just to take me back when they allowed me to return without visa, because they canceled my visa. I flew back without a visa. I thought I'm not going to make it, because I thought at the airport, they would just stop me or whatever. Then in New York airport, the manager, because I was flying during the weekend, and my lawyer was not on the weekend available. Yes, so maybe she could do something at this point, but she couldn't because she was not available. And because it was the weekend, they didn't really have managers in there. So the manager, he said, I'm so sorry it happened to you. But when he left and they put me again in this room where I was sitting for 2 days almost before, they returned me back, they sent me back. They said again, opened my passport, and they were like, no, but your visa isn't correct. And I'm like, are you right now serious? Like, are you serious right now? Like, you just did that to me. And they are saying it was correct. And right now you're saying the same thing. So I was just afraid that they would do again the same thing to a different person. So I hated everything. I was like, I don't want to live here. I just didn't like anything. Like my first months before our wedding and everything, I was like, I don't want to live here. I just don't like anything. Maybe I was excited at first, but after this situation, like everything changed. Right now I'm fine, but yeah, this story was not amazing.
No, I'm really glad that you shared that, because I think people tend to gloss over what it's like to come to the United States. It's really, really difficult as an immigrant.
It's just a lack of information that education, they were supposed to be trained. They were not trained, and you just did something to the person. And I wanted even to go to court. But again, at this time, we didn't really have money. And my lawyer, she was like, I don't know, because it's a governmental organization. It's a border protection, right? It's customs.
Homeland Security.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Homeland Security. And she's like, it's a governmental organization. I'm not sure that we can do something. I'm like, yes, but listen, how much money we lost because of this. And I had to buy several tickets. I had my dog. I had my luggage that I had to pay again and again because it was extra fees. My husband who flew for one day just to take me because he didn't want me to fly alone again. And then $10,000 we were supposed to pay our lawyer for what she did to bring me back. So we started our life with debt.
A lot of debt.
A lot of debt. And that's why I was like, I want to go to court because I want this kind of money reimbursement. But again, we didn't do it. She was not very sure it could work, and we just didn't do it.
Sometimes also like the time and energy to fight the government. I'm not at all saying one shouldn't, but like you have to like weigh what's important. And it sounds like you decided to look ahead. You were married in the US. I'm really glad that you spoke about that transition being rough, because I think it is for a lot of people. It makes sense.
I think for everyone. Yeah, it's just first months you feel like everything is new to you. You don't have friends. You start to live with a new person. So for me, it was that I started to live together with John, and of course we had to get used to each other and like to routine that we had. It's always like a transition between different cultures. And for example, it's probably an easy example, but for example, like restaurants. I hated it when you go into the restaurant or cafe and you sit down and the waiter is immediately comes to you and asks, what do you want to drink? Like in any other country, Europe, Russia, we don't have that. I mean, they bring the menu. You just look at the menu.
You have time.
Things. Yes. Yeah. But here they're like, what do you want to drink? And I'm like, oh my God. And I just hated it. Right now it's natural for me, but at this time I was like, why? And also because it's only like soda drinks, water, iced tea, and that's it. And I'm like, do you have coffee? But coffee like, cappuccino or latte.
Right, like an espresso, right.
Yeah, no, we don't have. We just have soda products. And I'm like, okay, do you have any smoothies? Do you have any orange juice? Do you have fresh juices?
No.
Like, we have it all everywhere, like in every place. Here, no. It's only like Coke products.
Or Pepsi. Coke or Pepsi. Budweiser, or I don't even know what the other kind of beer is. I don't drink beer.
I don't know. Exactly.
So at some point you decided to start Angie's Showroom. How did that come about? Like, now that I'm like getting the feel, so you come into the US, you're riddled with debt. You have a child pretty soon, I would imagine.
So I moved, and I still had this job for my Cyprus company, but it was like maybe a couple of months she kept it for me. But still, it was good that I had it. I was working on a remote. Then I was like, okay, I want to do something on my own, because United States is famous for businesses, for entrepreneurs, for possibilities, like American dream and everything. So I was like, okay, if I want to do something, I have to do it here. Of course, it's always tough when you don't have money to start a business. And at this point, we didn't have money. And I got pregnant. I was like, okay, I have to do something because I got pregnant. And I knew that in the United States, you don't really have maternity leaves a lot. And I was like, I don't want to, that's another thing that I don't really like here, but it's bad. And I'm like, I don't want to go to work, because John, he was pushing me to search for an office job. I was like, I don't want to go to office job just because I'm going to have a baby and I have to give the baby away at 3 months old. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. And he understood it, but he was like, yeah, but we need, like, you need money. And
we need money.
Like, we need money. And I'm like, okay. But at this point, when we had this conversation, and he was worried, of course, I actually started to think about e-commerce business and about reselling business. Before Angie's, I actually started with selling, and I still do have this business. I'm reselling and selling women's accessories, handbags. I'm actually working with Russia a lot on this.
What is the website for that? Because I couldn't find it.
There is no website. It's through Instagram and Telegram, and basically through Instagram, mostly just because I wanted an e-commerce business, but at this point when I started it, so basically 7 years ago, Instagram was like such a boom. It was so easy to grow organically. It was so easy to get customers, and especially for Russian customers, they love nowadays to purchase via Instagram.
What is the handle of your Instagram shop?
Shopaholic.in.usa. So it's very easy. Shopaholic in USA with dots in between. The thing was that it was so easy without any money to grow and get clients. I got some partners who were reselling too. They live in Russia. So we basically started to cooperate, and I got orders, and it was growing and growing and growing. At this point, my husband was like, okay, you don't have to go to office job, And I was already pregnant. I was like, yeah. I mean, I didn't make like tons of money, but I actually made more than I was.
Right? It's a proof of concept. Like you proved to yourself that you had the knowledge and the framework to do it.
Yeah, and I proved that I can actually do something. So, but after several years, I was like, okay, I don't want to do it all my life. And I already did that for several years. I want to build something. I live here. I live in the United States now. I need to build something for US market. And I was just researching what I can do. Of course, being in different countries, I traveled a lot as a child, as a teenager, and after 20s, my 20s, I traveled a lot. I lived in different places. So I saw different cultures and different things. That's why, I felt that there are a lot of things that the United States doesn't have compared to European market, just because the culture is different or they don't know it or whatever. And that's when my idea about lingerie came, just because I do love lingerie myself and all the nightwear pieces, and my friends before marriage, we had a bachelorette party. They actually gifted me a handmade silk set, like a garter, bra, and a panty. When I was starting to think about the business, and my friend who actually gifted it to me, she was like, you remember this gift from us, from the girls? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, but actually it was a handmade, lingerie brand and blah, blah, blah. This brand, maybe you have to contact them and ask, maybe you can kind of collaborate or do business together, because I'm pretty sure in the United States, you don't really have any handmade lingerie pieces.
Other than Etsy.
They do a little bit. Yeah, it's just people who like to sew. They make some lingerie pieces, mostly bralettes. And I'm like, we don't really have any brands in here. Like in France, I was in France, they had lingerie stores. Every single store was pretty much lingerie store. One door, then another store, and then again lingerie store. So, or Italy, so you have tons of, and even in Moscow, we had tons of different brands. Here, what do you know? Victoria's Secret, probably the most popular brand.
Maybe even you're right. I know that the upscale ones are I think it's called Belladonna or Belladonna, I think is one. There are some, but they're very hard to find.
Yeah, but on top of our mind, it's pretty much Victoria's Secret, I think, for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where my daughters go, hands down.
Yeah. Exactly. And nobody, and why? It's not actually because it's great quality or anything, and even the price is not cheap anymore.
Yeah. It's convenient.
It's actually expensive. It's convenient. It's the image they build. It's the brand they build. But still, there are not a lot of places where you want to go and find some beautiful pieces, comfortable pieces, and kind of at affordable price. When I was thinking about that, and when I got this idea, I'm like, why not to try lingerie? I wasn't a designer at this time or anything like that, and I had zero probably knowledge about building, lingerie.
Like everyone, right? When we start out.
But I was curious. It was interesting. It was beautiful in my mind, and I was like, okay, I can try.
Did you contact The people that
your friends. Yeah.
And they're in Russia or Ukraine?
Yes. Because I had my party with my Russian girlfriends just before I left for New York. So I had a party there and they gifted it there. I did contact the brand. We still kind of communicate with them. Unfortunately, I don't really work with them much, but they have beautiful pieces. And I had to start with something because I couldn't, make anything from scratch. Right now, I'm making more my designs, but of course, I started with a different perspective.
I just want to ask an economic question, which is when you bought or had these pieces made by this company in Russia or Ukraine, is it that the cost of labor was much less so that it became more affordable for you, I would imagine?
Yes, that's actually my pain right now because we talked with you about war and that Ukraine is struggling with production and Russia can't really ship stuff. I was working with both countries. Why? Yes, you're obviously correct because the labor is cheaper. Second thing is because I was looking for years, probably more than 2 years now. I was looking for seamstresses here. I couldn't find anyone who actually into lingerie and who actually can make it. It's a pretty difficult and delicate work. I do have a seamstress here. I found her last year in Orlando, but she doesn't want to do it. She's like, it's very delicate. Like you have to have so little things everywhere. You have to make this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's what lingerie is.
And that's why it's handmade. And that's why we charge people for that. She's like, yeah, but my hands, I can't really do that and blah, blah, blah. So it was difficult to find people here. But there, especially in Ukraine, they have a lot of factories. They have a lot of ateliers that specialize in lingerie. Not everyone is specialized on underwire because, again, it's a different story. It's difficult to make. But the labor, the materials, they have great materials. They are cheaper. I bought some materials from there to ship them here. It still cost me twice more than if I made it there.
The idea, correct me if I'm wrong, is that like you wanted to do like 20 handmade pieces at a time, right? Of like a certain, I thought that's what I understood you saying in an interview. I don't know if you designed it yourself, but like a bra, a garter belt, underwear, whatever. And you would have like 20 of them and that's it. And then once that's sold, that's it. Is that how it worked or was it just one of a kind?
let me put it that way. So yeah, when I started, I had to find some partners. So I started with this Russian brand that I had a set myself from them. So I did start with them because I knew the quality and they were interested in working on wholesale basis. But because I just started, I needed my website, I needed pictures, I needed like products. I couldn't obviously afford a lot as well. And I needed to test this niche. I did order from them like small bunch of products in a couple of sizes. I also found one in Ukraine also to test. So I had one wholesaler basically in Russia and one in Ukraine, and they were completely different because in Russia they made 100% silk products, and in Ukraine it was mostly lace and mesh materials. So they had different styles. They were completely different. I just wanted to test. And I found at this time when I got my first shipments, I found, and I still do work with them, I found a store in Austin. It's a lingerie store. They have a great customer database. I offered them to keep my products to sell them. So they didn't purchase it from me, but they have my products in the store and they just pay me commission and for them, not commission, they pay me for my products back when they sell them. So it was like kind of a win-win situation because I didn't have a customer database at this time and they wanted something new to their store and they didn't want to pay for it. So for them, it was like they kept the products and yeah. And I was living in Austin, so for me it was easy to come, to give them. So right now I have to ship it, but back in the day I was just driving to give them the stuff, taking it back if I needed something. They shipped for me some stuff.
So your stuff stood out. What was the data that you ended up collecting between the two from Russia, Ukraine? Like, what did you learn?
I was working with both. I did try different brands, but I still like the idea about handmade. And it's these two brands, they were handmade, and I did like the quality. I like the price. I was just thinking that I need to move forward in the future to start creating my pieces, because I didn't want to continue selling other brands. Even though right now, if you open my website, you can see in the list of brands, several brands. It's just because we still have some pieces of our old inventory that we didn't sell yet, or it's just like one or two pieces left, and that's why they're still on the website. But I was transitioning for the past probably 2 years or year and a half, no, probably 2 years into my designs.
So you're doing the designs now?
Yes, I'm trying to create more and more, but obviously it takes time. And I do struggle a lot with production and logistics currently. So plan for 2023 is do something about the logistics and manufacturing, because I keep looking if I can switch at the time being and find local factories here, or maybe Turkey, maybe, I don't know, maybe some other country.
There have to be some places that are less expensive where you can.
Yeah, but you have to test, you have to order samples, you have to send them your designs. It takes time, and a lot of places. Like, my idea also about sustainability is that we do make our sets for orders. So we work on pre-orders a lot, and I do like this scheme because we do save on materials. We do not pollute and have tons of extra inventory. It's good because of the money, and it's also good because we do not waste a lot of materials and accessories and everything that we use for lingerie. That's why it's probably not going to work if I find a factory that will require me to order 500 pieces or whatever. I don't want to do that.
No, it doesn't sound like that's what you're after. And so if I can reflect back, what I think I'm hearing you say is for 2023, you really would like to position yourself as much as possible as a pre-order venue. I mean, have some merchandise on your site, but pre-order so that you can really focus on the customer and what she wants. I know you have some men as well. We don't know if we're buying for women or what's going on there, but we'll leave that alone.
Yeah.
We don't need to know. So that potentially could be sustainable, except that it's hard to reach customers. B2C is hard.
I have a couple of plans. First, it's true. I want to make sure we are trying to move forward to sustainable journey as much as possible. I would like to source more sustainable materials because there are silks, if we talk about silk. There are silks that are sustainable silks like tencel, and there are several different names for silk. It costs more, and especially with our economic situation and the prices increases drastically for everything right now. I try to keep our price range at the same level, but I'm pretty sure if I move to sustainable materials, it's not going to stay the same. It's going to go up a lot. So I'm trying to find this balance between still keeping, because the idea of my brand was to have handmade, unique piece that like 1% of women worldwide wear, but still keep the price range not too luxury, not too expensive, and not too low, but somewhere in the middle. So I try to keep this in place.
The one podcast I listened to, you said a set cost at that time about $140 or $150.
Yeah, it's still the same. Yeah, we have 145, 155, some like silk, 100% silk, like around 165. We're still at the 150 range. I didn't change it. I had to increase price for shipping, but again, it's not up to me. It's for the companies. Yeah, I had to increase shipping price.
What is the platform that you use to sell?
Shopify.
Have you liked that?
Yeah.
And you can do it yourself, like any person?
Yeah, as my marketing experience, I did work with different platforms. I did create several websites. So for me, Shopify was very easy to use. I never worked, because I had corporate jobs, I never worked with e-commerce before. So it was new for me to add products and stuff. But we did work a lot with WordPress, and it was more complicated than Shopify,
Yes.
Even in terms of a user at the admin panel. Shopify is very easy to use. They have great customer service. The price is good. They have all like payments connected. No, I think it's a great platform. Yeah.
What percentage do they take?
I think it depends on your plan. There is like a standard plan, like more like a huge enterprise plan or something in between. They have, I think, 3 plans. For transactions, they probably take, again, it depends on the plan, but I think it's around 3%, maybe 2.9, maybe 2.8, 2.9 plus like 30 cents per transaction, something like that.
They're providing you, if I understand you correctly, they're providing you with the platform. They're providing you with the ability to take all the different payments, right?
Yeah, you connect whatever you want. Cards, PayPal. If it's PayPal charges you commission, obviously, not Shopify. Yeah. It just depends what customer wants to use, because obviously for us, it's better to offer everything to our customers, and customers obviously pick what they like to use, card or PayPal or Amazon Pay or something like that. We try to offer everything.
Hindsight is always 20/20, but if you were to reflect on the past 5 years, what is one thing that you feel you've done exceptionally well and one thing you would have done differently?
The past 5 years, I'm thankful, and I think I grew the brand, probably not as much as I would thought I could reach, in 5 years or 4 years. My brand is less than 5 years. So yeah, it's like 3 years probably. So it's less than 5 years. So I still kind of proud of what I did for the past years, just because it was a side business, as I had my reselling and the baby, the first baby. So I had my first business, and it was like a hobby and side business, and I still kind of grow it. But for this year, I have more plans, because I want to invest more in advertising. I want to work more with wholesale if I decide what I'm doing with production, and if I fix this issue, because I don't want customers to be upset. Right now, a lot of times they might be upset because of the shipping time, because of the processing time as we're making the set. And answering your question that you asked before, that you want to work on pre-orders, and I'm not sure about 2023. It will depend on what happens and about our manufacturing processing time. So I might actually switch more into inventory. Just I don't want customers to be upset. So yeah, I'm proud of what I built, but I have more plans, and what I'm going to do this year. I want to grow it more, and I want to try a new project for myself if I have time. But I keep working and looking forward. I wanted to actually try sell on Amazon handmade category, because they do have handmade category, which I never knew I had. So maybe I will try to sell my products in Amazon handmade. It's like an idea.
What about Etsy? Or is that not attractive to you?
I tried Etsy, but it was a long time ago. And to be honest, it's just I had to take care of wholesale website. I had to take care of Shopify website. And then Etsy. And I needed a person who would duplicate everything all the time and plus check the inventory and remove everything in my Excel sheets. So I didn't have this person and I didn't have time for that. I did have some sales, but again, on Etsy, I think the competition is high for lingerie. There are a lot of, again, Ukrainians, Russian, Polish, from European Union countries, a lot of manufacturers or handmade lingerie designers there, and the price might be cheaper. I don't think I can compete on Etsy, to be honest. But we tried, and I mean, maybe in the future we will try again, but I didn't want to work on Etsy on pre-orders. I wanted to work on Etsy only with my current inventory to ship from United States. So I didn't really have tons of products. That might be also an issue. I don't know, but we did try it.
First of all, tell our listeners where they can find any of your products, where you have all your different hands, your handbags, your lingerie. But I also would like to interview you again in 1 year because I'd like to know what you've done in a year's time.
It would be interesting to look because my baby will be 1.5 years. Probably she's not gonna leave us alone for the next podcast because she's gonna be like 18 months.
That's okay.
Or so. It would be great. And for US citizens and Europe, if you're listening to us as well, the website is angieshowroom.com with 1 S. We do have all the links for our social media at the top of the website. We do have Pinterest. We have Instagram. Instagram is angie's.showroom. Pinterest is the same. We have Facebook page, we have everything. And all the links are at the website. As for my handbags business, I'm not sure. I did say the name. It's shopaholic.in.usa, but it's in Russian. So I'm not sure it will be interested for our listeners, but I do have a blog there as well. I'm talking about US life, about business to my customers there. They like to read different stories from me, but unfortunately it's in Russian. I still want to have blog and my page in English because I didn't have time at all to do that. It's still on my phone. that I want to do it. So maybe in the year I will share my personal handle.
If women want to support you in your handbags, right? If they see a picture and they don't understand the price, they can always just ask. They can ask you directly.
Yeah, we have sometimes people ask us in English and in direct messages, they ask to purchase something from different countries. But it's just main customers is Russia just because the business was built that way. That's why I'm trying to move more, again, because of the situation. And I don't know what's going to happen, today or tomorrow or in a month. That's why I try to push this year as much as I can towards US business, towards my lingerie, towards Amazon if I do Amazon. Everything that will probably be better in terms of, in terms of economic situation and in terms of my business as well, because with Russia right now, I'm kind of concerned what can happen.
Absolutely. And obviously our concern is with people in Ukraine and in Russia as well. But I very much appreciate that from a business perspective. And we will talk again in a year. We'll see where you've gotten to. And I'm sure it will be exciting wherever it is. I want to thank you so much for coming on She Ventures.
Thank you.
You've been listening to She Ventures. Like what you heard? You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe and sign up for our newsletter so you never miss a show.